Hello, my name is J.R. Morgan, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about soil and the importance of soil. Soil is one of the most important aspects of gardening. Even on a big scale of agriculture, your soil is extremely important. A lot of the times when insects come and eat your plants, or plants start getting affected, majority of the time it's the soil deficiency. Either your soil isn't retaining enough water, or there's too much water, or there's not enough nutrients, there's not enough organic compost, there's not enough microorganisms moving and acting down there, which then create problems above the soil. So what is soil? Soil, the texture of soil is silt, loam, and clay. So online you can look up the soil pyramid, which kind of gives you an accurate separation of all three of them, because sometimes it's not all the way clay, sometimes it's not all the way silt, sometimes it's not all the way loam. You might have silty clay, loamy silt. The best environment for gardening is the silty, is all three of them, but more towards the loam. So clay is kind of your like reddish soil, which is so hard that when the rain comes, it doesn't penetrate and it just bounces right off of it. I mean, you can see how that's obviously not good for plants because it's not retaining any soil. If it's too sandy, now the water is just running through it. It's not able to store any nutrients, it's not able to store any water, and therefore the plants struggle. So the best is kind of more loamy, silty, with a little bit of clay. So it's storing your nutrients, and it's storing the water harvesting in your soil, which is a very important aspect. When you think about soil, another key ingredient is air, and you don't really think about that, but you want your soil to have aeration. So therefore, that can also act as a water storage. Over time, it's very hard for you it takes a lot of time for you to improve your soil. It's not like, oh, you just throw compost on and now your soil is good. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes education, what type of compost, which we'll have another video specifically on compost. But let's get back to soil. So normally the roots of a plant grow around 12 inches, and the top layer of your soil is your organic matter, and it gets more solid as you go deeper and deeper. So you want to make sure to continue to add soil, which will help erosion, or not soil, you want to continue to add organic matter constantly throughout the year to help break down into the native soil, and then so you can mix that up and you have a very natural, healthy environment for your soil. So how do you get it to be like that? What's the big deal? How do you make your soil healthy if it takes 10, 20 years for your soil to change? Well, there's different strategies, there's different techniques. You can have cover crops, you can mulch, you can add compost, you can do hugelkultur. There are so many different things that you can do right now which will improve your soil overall in the long run. So first, hugelkultur is garden beds that are filled with debris, filled with logs, and then you add the soil and compost on top. And what that does is, which we talked about earlier, is it creates air tunnels where water can be stored, but we'll have a workshop on that, and I'll take videos on that. You can put leaves over your garden. Which that will do is, you never want your soil to be bare, because if your soil is bare, that means the sun is just going to be roasting it, and it's going to be too hot, and even sun can create erosion. So even rain. So if rain is just thumping down on your soil and you have nothing on your soil, that creates erosion too. Compaction. You know, if people are just walking on your garden beds all the time and the soil is super compact, that means that water is not going to be able to be stored in there. So you want to take care of your soil and know these different techniques and strategies, because if your garden's not growing to its full potential, you know, what is the problem? You know, a lot of people try to add different things or do different things. Most of the time it's just your soil. So you can also do cover crop. You know, there's different plants that give nitrogen to your garden, like beans, and there's just a lot of different plants that you can plant right before winter. You give it a little bit of time in fall, plant it. So in the winter time, when it's super rainy here in Oregon especially, now your garden beds are covered. And then once you go through the winter, now what you do is you just dig those plants into the soil, and now that creates more compost, more aeration into your soil. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to plant guilds. You know, so like I was saying, not only for green manure cover crops, but you're just planting plants that give nutrients to your soil. As I mentioned, beans is one. Lupin is the other one. And comfrey is another one that you can dig. That's another cover crop that you can just dig into your soil. So yeah. So I hope we got some information based on soil through this talk that I gave. And you know, you can put leaves, you can put debris over your compost or over your soil to help protect it. It's really about creating a relationship with your soil, so with your plants and your soil. So remember the techniques that I talked to you about. Remember, if there is a problem with your plants, check the soil. There's different tests that you can do. There's a percolation test, which that happens you measure the percolation. So you dig a 12-inch hole, 12 by about 10 inches, 12 inches by 10 inches, and then you fill it up with water. And then you see how long it takes that water to go through. If in an hour, if it goes all the way down within an hour, then your drainage is fairly fast. If it doesn't drain, that means that your water is just storing there. And you don't want your beds to be just stored with water. You want it to be slow, but not too fast. Another test to figure out if your soil is silty, loam, or clay is the red ribbon test, which you will grab a handful of soil, and then you'll literally just squeeze it throughout your fingers, and then based on what it looks like, you can tell what type of texture it is and what you need to add or what you don't need to add. And the other one is the jar test. So this will help you understand the silt, clay, and loam measurement. Also, is you get a jar, you fill it up with water, you get some dirt, put it in there, let it sit for a couple days. Now your sand, everything will be separated. So the clay will be the smallest, and that will go to the top. The sand will go to the bottom, and then the loam will be in the middle. And then you can literally measure how much water you have, and then measure the amount of material, and now you can get a specific percentage of how much clay, loam, or silt there is. So thank you for your time, and this is my information on soil. We'll have more information, and just understand that the soil is the start of a successful garden. Thank you.